All right, everybody, welcome back to the ATB NFL Live Show. We got the full slate of guys this week, of course. It's always good to see. Tony, I know we talked about we're not going to even talk about your team because that was an ugly game. We're just going to kind of pretend that didn't happen. But we're going to get into the full slate of action this week. Have a literal full slate. Every team this week is playing because the NFL is on crack. They're losing it. They're doing crazy stuff. I think it's a little weird to have a full slate in the middle of the season, but I'll take it. More football, I guess, right? So we have a lot of games we're going to cover, so we're not going to spend too much time on, especially certain games. Like we try not to, but let's be honest, we're gonna still spend time on games. But I do want to start by talking about the NFL trade deadline because that is coming up this week. Of course, you got to make sure that we have conversations about that because there's going to be some players moved. It's never as exciting as we want it to be, I would say, but there's going to still be some movement. There's some big names talked about. See if they actually get moved or not. But let me start with you, Tony. What trades would you like to see at the deadline, or is there any that you expect to see as well?
Yeah, so on the expectation piece, I'm worried that we're going to get a letdown of a trade deadline.
Oh,
Yeah.
Last year was the best one ever, and it's kind of been ramping up to that.
Right.
This year, I think we'd get the same, but over the past 2 or 3 weeks, like 2 weeks ago, all the 1-5 teams won, right? Like
Yes.
last
Yeah.
week, a couple more teams got wins, and so there's just not enough bad teams that I think are going to be selling like marquee players. A couple trades I want to see, and I'm going to go like varying. I'm going to list 3, starting with the most realistic, and we're getting progressively less realistic.
I hope we all take a look at my little white section and realize which
Yeah.
one I'm.
I knew.
I'm not touching that. I'm going to dip into that team, but I'm going to let you do that one. All right. But so like I said, I'm dipping into that team. I think Cortland Sutton is going to be on the move. I think there are I think Sean Payton wants to clear out a lot of the offense. Just get guys who are going to be on his page. Sutton is a very capable guy. I think that he could be a number 1 for a team who desperately needs one. If he can be your number 2, you have an insanely good receiver room. I think he's going to the Carolina Panthers. They need to get another guy for Bryce Young. He started to feel things out going into the 2 games before the bye. Hopefully he comes out swinging now, but like you got to keep surrounding him. So get Cortland Sutton to the Panthers. I don't think it'll take more than like a 4th. So that's my like first realistic one. My second realistic, but it's not going to happen one is a very selfish one, near and dear to my heart. The Bills need some help on defense, and
They do.
I think a one tech would go the furthest in terms of like rising tide lifting all boats. But there's not a lot of one techs out there. Like maybe Tier Tart from Tennessee, but I don't think they're gonna get rid of him. So I just need a defensive player of any type that I feel like is going to be the closer that we need. We're not giving up the 96-yard drive to Baker Mayfield, So give me Jalen Johnson. He's been very open about his contract situation with the Bears. He'd like to get a deal done there, but he also wants to be treated with respect and long-term stability. And I think that it would be smart if they paid him, but I understand like that, I don't know, things are weird over there. I think it would take like a 2nd, a 4th, and Kyer Elam to get it done. And then we'd have to turn around and give the guy a contract. But Kyer Elam's clearly on the outs in Buffalo, but I think he's still got the draft pedigree, the man coverage talent. He can be molded into something successful in a different scheme. So package him with a couple good picks and get Jalen Johnson onto this Bills team so that they have solid, borderline, really, really, really damn good cornerback play again.
Yeah, when you're getting benched for Josh Norman, I think the writing is on the walls.
Yeah, the healthy inactives early in the season were like, oh man, that's tough, but the room is deep. And then you lose Trey White, and you've got Christian Benford and Dane Jackson both nursing certain injuries, and they call up 35-year-old Josh Norman from the practice squad, from the street. Like, yeah, the writing's on the wall. He's gone. And then the last one that I really want to see that won't happen, give me Devontae Adams on the Detroit Lions. They need another star, right? Like they're knocking on the door. They can go and compete in the NFC this year. Give me Devontae Adams on the Detroit Lions. I think that would take probably like a 1st, but I'd say it's worth it.
That would be fun for sure with the way Goff's playing that offense. Yeah, for sure. Anything you want to add to that, Zach, or you want to get into yours?
Yeah. So we'll start with my first one, and as I said, you can see down there. Send the first for Pat.
Yeah.
When looking at the rest of the Miami Dolphins schedule, it seems clear that first round pick is not going to be very high whatsoever. Probably in the 20s, possibly if things go well and they play to their ability and how well they can perform with what we've seen. Maybe it's going to be a 30 pick. You send that to the Denver Broncos for a man who has physically stated and said out loud that he would like to leave the team and play for your team. Patrick Surtain is desperately wanting to get out of Denver. I would love to see it. It would be fantastic. Just another piece for this fantastic defense that could possibly be bringing Jalen Ramsey back this week as well. So all this stuff, that's obviously the first one. I think the compensation adds out. Like obviously Denver doesn't want to move on from a piece of their like that solid of a piece of their roster, but it doesn't seem like they're really doing much this season and getting those picks to then have for Sean Payton to reinvest back into the team because they're stuck on that. You can't get rid of Sean Payton. You can't get rid of Russell Wilson. So they have to find some way to make it work. You might as well take some of those treasure chest picks, load it up, send those off for other trades, figure it out. Do I think it will happen? I don't know. I don't think so. But we'll see what happens. Possibly a second round pick, multiple picks.
I think you need to throw a second first round pick on top of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's
possibly.
I was cooking up some Pat Surtain off like trades, but then I was like, oh wait, no, he wants it for the Dolphins. I won't say anything, but I was looking at like a first, and a fifth or sixth, like minimum.
It'll be interesting. The other player that I think still could be on the move if a team makes a concerted effort is Jonathan Taylor. With Zach Moss doing as well as he is. I mean, I know they gave him the contract and all that stuff, but I think if like a team is desperate enough and gives up the compensation, that's what I'm saying. Because right now you're seeing a lot of teams who are on the verge of competing, and the one thing holding them back is their rushing game. The team that I think of immediately can't do it, and it's the Rams because they don't have the picks to do it. So, but like I'm saying if there's a team out there that is willing to fork it up and be like, hey, no, he's a proven commodity. We need the rushing help. I definitely think Jim Irsay is crazy to be like, yeah, I know we just gave him this money, but man, first round picks. Yeah, I'll take first round picks.
I think Moss could be a guy instead that as good as he's played. I think he would be a sell high candidate for them.
I know sell high, but I could also, again, I could see them flipping it and just being like, Zach Moss is being quiet. He's taking his role. We'll just roll with him, keep building this team. And then we have the space to not have on the books for Jonathan Taylor.
That would be a very Irsay thing to do, admittedly, but it would be very funny if they did that.
They would have just paid like $25 million for a couple games of him this year and nothing else.
Right.
Well, I mean, to get him back on the field and have people, because I think the bigger thing with that was what was the severity of the injury, because it was like two sides playing the same game of like, no, I don't want to play, but there really was no. I feel like this was more of a, we need to get him back on the field. If there's any chance of a team coming up and being like, hey, we're going to give a lot for him, he needs to get back on the field and show what he can do again, because he was injured at the beginning of the season. And we played this weird game where nobody really knows what that looks like. So I think that move, while they want to keep him long-term, was a bit more of an appeasing to be like, hey, like, yeah, okay, we'll give you your money. Get back, get out here, please. We need you. I think it's both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Real quick before I get into mine, I know we have a comment here. Really like you guys' podcast. Thanks, Dave.
Hey, I appreciate it, Dave.
Absolutely. Love to
We
see
have
it.
fans.
We do.
Yay!
Guys, we made it.
I really like you, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so I like what you guys had to say for sure as far as the deadline goes. There's a couple things I want to throw out there as well. I'll start with my team because I do think they could use some help in certain areas for sure. Dante Jackson would be an interesting ad, I think, because of his athleticism, and I think he'd be a better fit in the Steelers' man-heavy scheme. I think that would be helpful for them. I think that with his contract, he does have a decent amount of money next year. I think it's like a $15 million cap hit, but 2025 cap hit's really low. You can move some money around. The Steelers do that anyway, like the restructure deal, stuff like that. He'd be a guy that is like a buy low because he's not playing very well for the Panthers this year, but I think he would play better for us for sure. Another Panthers-related trade. You talked about Sutton to the Panthers. I think Jerry Jeudy also would make a lot of sense just because of his style of play with Bryce Young, quick separator, route running type guy. I think he'd be a really good fit for what they need right now. Just a guy who can consistently get open. I know he's had his issues, and there's some weird stuff with, like, obviously Steve Smith kind of got into him, which was very interesting. Whatever. He
Oh my
does
God,
that.
Steve Smith, would he allow it? Would
I
he
don't
allow
think they
Jerry
care.
Jeudy onto his Panthers?
I don't think they really care at this point what he has to say.
Hey, they squashed that beef.
I know, but you still, yeah, they did figure that out. Yeah, I guess he talked about it. It's like, I should have, said it differently or whatever it was. But point is, I think that would make a lot of sense. And I also think the Broncos are just, they need to just hemorrhage assets if this is what they're going to do, if this is how Peyton wants to do things, like you said, Tony. I think Justin Simmons is a guy that could be on the move too. I think he could provide some value to a team. There's been rumors about him going to Pittsburgh, actually, weirdly enough, which, like, KZ's not been amazing. So, like, him and Minka would be. Yeah, him and Minka would be great, but I don't think they're interested in doing that. I think they still like KZ, even though he hasn't been great this year.
Something else that just popped in my head. I could see a domino falling in the New York Jets running back room, because you have had a lot.
Cook is already looking at trying to
Cook and Michael Carter, and before Cook even said anything, Michael Carter has been very, very vocal about how he has felt misused. And, like, to be fair, he had a lot of talent and a lot of promise coming out, and they have not really done much with him.
Yeah,
and I could see either him or Cook possibly being on the move as well. That's more of a realistic, because that running back room is a little deep, and you have a lot of chatter. And I don't feel like at the team right now to be having that sort of chatter with how things are going.
Yeah,
I do get that. Yeah.
Sorry, there's one that I wanted to mention that I was kind of surprised hasn't been brought up. There's going to be a defensive end on the move from the Washington Commanders. Which one do you think which one do you think it will be, and where do you think he's going? Like, I mean, Jags Chase Young, is that what's happening here? Like,
I think you can't. I think it has to be Sweat, just because Young has been so good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, like, if there was ever a time that somebody has completely, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like after years of slow ass starts, he has completely revamped his entire image this season, because he has come out on fire, and been everything that he was advertised to be this year. I think the bigger thing with Sweat, though, is they took him and he okay, yeah,
I agree. Falcons are another great one for one of those.
However, I could see the Commanders after the past couple weeks. I could see them holding firm and trying to hold on to what they have right now, especially with the way that I really feel like Ron Rivera is fighting for his job. And Jack Del Rio. I mean, I just find it hard for both of them to get rid of.
They are both as lame duck as it gets.
I don't think their opinion matters a whole lot at this point.
It's just Eric Bieniemy and ownership in the office, just like, all right,
maybe.
I think so.
We're usurping.
I do think Young, though, like, he's played so well that I think now that he's shown to be the player that you wanted him to be when you drafted him, I feel it'd be hard to sell him now whenever you could. I understand he's only done
what contract do you think he gets, though, right? Because he's in a contract year now, right? And because they didn't pick up the 5th-year option, and if you pay him to his level of play this season, you're talking about 30 plus. But you've also seen 2 seasons where he either hasn't played or has been ineffective, and so do you try to split the difference, sign him to a $25 million contract? Why would he say yes to that? Like, I think because they didn't pick up the 5th-year option, the dynamics are difficult. And with Sweat, they're not difficult. You know that he's going to be a second-tier contract kind of guy. You're going to be able to fit it in. You know he's going to work well. So I just think that there's, like, if you can pry a high pick and avoid the stress of the situation and still have a really good D end on your roster, it's just really interesting how that one's going to play out.
I think that at this point, the game is you refranchise him and then have that discussion of, do you want a long-term deal here? Is this something you're interested in? Will you give us a little bit of leeway because you haven't shown it consistently? What kind of contract can we work out? I think that's the question. And then if you have to, then you maybe trade him on the tag going into the offseason, because it gives you control over that situation where if you can work something out, awesome. If you can't, oh well, you're on the tag for a year. We can either trade you can play it out, try to go back and free and see whatever it is. So That's what I assume will happen there. I think that I just feel like they don't want to sell off a player that they drafted that high that is now showing that promise, at least until they have the opportunity to work something out with him in the offseason. So at the deadline, it'd be tough. But
right now, like, I mean, again, as the Commanders constituent here, that's the one thing that I'm not concerned about right now is their defense. Like their defense is what's been keeping them in games outside of the like 40 point the 3-game skid where it was like, yo, what happened there? But they also played two very good teams in that stretch. It was just the Bears game where it was like, oh, dang. So if they have any promises of trying to make a push for the postseason, I have a little concern if they decide to break down the defense, because that's been the backing force as the offense is trying to figure things out. Because, Sam Howell just got sacked. What was it? 6 times against the Giants?
Probably 5, 6.
Yeah, six times against the Giants, who do not sack quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's on pace to beat the record by like 20 sacks.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah,
it's so bad.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's the trade deadline stuff. I think we can settle that for now. Real quick, I did see this as well. I'm not sure if you guys follow college football, but is there an edge coming up better than Chase Young? Better as a prospect? That's tough to say because I didn't scout Chase Young heavily, but I don't think so. I mean, I like this edge class, but I don't know if anyone's quite the like blue chipper type of guy that Young was coming out.
What's the sack record?
The sack record, like
I think it's like 76.
It's 76 by car.
It is week 8, and he has been sacked 40 times.
Yeah, he'll break it if he plays the whole year. I guarantee.
There's no. That's all. It's a done deal unless they have some renaissance on the Washington.
It's not even that. He has to just
no. And he starts throwing the ball away. Like this is going to be insane.
Yeah,
homie's going to be on the ground 100 times.
Yeah, I'm on 90 sack watch for Sam Howell right now. That's certainly.
And Dave, to answer your question, I don't get into that until kind of closer to like February, but I've heard Latu out of UCLA is like the best, but he's also got medical concerns, and
similar to Phillips.
Chase Young is relatively untouchable as a prospect. That he was up there with the Myles Garretts of the world. So as a prospect, if there was a guy, we probably would have heard of him by now.
Yeah, and as much as I would love to answer your question, as we've established on this show, I'm not the college football watcher. Unless they're going nuts on Virginia Tech, which is not right now. I don't really have much.
Yeah, I would say.
Hey, we beat Syracuse 38-10. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's definitely impressive.
It's a good dub.
We rattled off a few. It's been I'm in a lot better mood than I was a few weeks ago when I said the next win was going to be against UVA.
Fair enough. All right, let's jump into the games here. Start with the more meh games of the week, which there's not too many of those, I would say, but there's definitely a few in a big slate like this. Let's just kick things off. Ravens at Cardinals. The Ravens, if they don't blow this team out by 30 points, like they did the Lions, which again, very convincing win by the Ravens last week, unbelievable. Then that just tells you that the Ravens still aren't consistent, and I'm really kind of at this point. I almost hope that they stay consistent because I'm tired of watching this team be bad for really no reason sometimes in certain games. And I'm a Steelers fan. I can't take it anymore either. It annoys me because I'm a really big Lamar Jackson fan, as much as that pains me to say. And he, of course, gets to actually show what he can do against the Lions. Will he do it against the Cardinals? You assume so because they have started to slow down a little bit as far as being super competitive. But what do you guys think? Let's start with Tony.
Yeah, I think in a 99% of the time, the Ravens should blow the doors off the Cardinals. Yes. The Ravens are playing. I think when they're on, they're probably the best team in the NFL at this current point in time. Yeah. They have the best defensive coordinator in the NFL. They've got a fun offense when the receivers aren't dropping balls. I like them a lot. It almost feels like the potential letdown trap game after their big blowout of Detroit, but I feel pretty comfortable that the Ravens are going to win this by a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah,
I agree.
I feel like the Ravens wide receivers look up the stats of the team they're playing the week of, and they're like, oh, they only scored 20 points. Okay, cool. 21 points. After that, we drop everything. Because that's the only way this makes sense. Because like, I swear last week they were like, oh man, the Lions are going off. We got to get to the 40s. Like, we're not going to win this one. And they played great. So yeah, it's very interesting to watch this Ravens team play. Like you guys said, they're like when they're on, they're one of the best teams in the league. and honestly kind of forgotten in this conversation that we're having about the Super Bowl and the playoffs and all this, which, I mean, that was the one thing that everybody said, oh, Todd Monken, get Lamar Jackson back. But then that's been some of the, not necessarily Lamar Jackson back, but the changes over in the offense have been the issues. So they should have no problem.
A real drop back passing game.
Well, yeah. And wow, he can do it. Imagine what happens. He did the same thing in Louisville. So yeah, Ravens should have no issues. But it's just, I mean, can the Cardinals continue to, I mean, they're slowing down, but they can continue to play a little upset ball. But I don't see it getting like crazy.
No, but yeah, I'll say just, I know you guys didn't give your scores. You can give it here in a second, but I'm going to say Ravens 28, Cardinals 14. I think feels pretty good to me.
Yeah, Ravens 31, Cardinals 10. Like,
nice.
I don't see them like.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah,
yeah, I think they're gonna put Josh Dobbs in hell.
Yeah,
give me something like 31-10. Yeah,
isn't Zach Ertz
I might
out
just.
Again too?
I think that's intentional. I think they put him on IR. So. Yeah, I think I'm going to just mirror your score, 31-10. Interesting that we didn't discuss it. I don't want to get too deep into it, but Kyler Murray, fully healthy, full participant in all the practices, still listed as doubtful. That is a signal to all of the teams saying, please call us. So Kyler Murray is 100% healthy, and the reason he's not playing this weekend is because they're hoping they can get a Godfather offer.
Yeah, if they do, I think they would take it. But I do think we'll see him next. I think we'll see him next week. I think that's what
Atlanta's the only team I could see potentially doing it. I would love it, but I feel like they're not going to make that aggressive move in season. So it probably doesn't come to fruition.
I mean, if we're talking about a real usurping here, and it's up to Bieniemy, if I was Bieniemy, I'd make that move.
That's another one that would make a lot of sense. And then they can send Jacoby Brissett back to Cleveland, where he can go thrive and just make all the teams better.
Yeah, there you go.
No. Yeah.
All right, but let's go to Chiefs Broncos here. I have this as meh just because obviously the Broncos are kind of just there at this point this year. They're just kind of floating around, it feels like.
And I'm tired of hearing about Taylor Swift.
I don't care about that. But the Chiefs, I will say.
I want to watch football again.
Oh, Zach, shut up. Anyway,
we're gonna get some great 1989 Taylor's version content, though.
Oh, we are. We're gonna get a ton.
Absolutely.
It's my favorite album, so I'm
it's the only one that I don't. It's the only one I don't mind. It's like one of the few I have not listened to a Taylor Swift album in the last like 3-4 years because I'm just like I'm kind of over it. I will give her all of her props though. There's never been another artist who has been like, give me my masters, and they said no, and she's like, cool, I'm gonna re-record all these albums and do them better and outsell. Eat it.
But yeah, pretty good. But the Chiefs have obviously they've dominated the Broncos in ways that most teams just don't dominate another division opponent for the past however many years now in a row. So I just feel like this is a mad game because we kind of know what the outcome is probably, right? Like I just don't see this streak ending with this current Broncos team. So what do you think?
I think it's crazy that we're sitting here after a couple of weeks and like everybody was like, oh, Kelsey's hurt. He's going to be hindered. And he's having like probably one of the better seasons that he's ever had in his career. They're fine. Like all the offensive worries early on the season.
We know why.
Rashee Rice is like low-key turning into a very damn good football player. Yes, the Brandon Ayuk career arc. Like,
because why not? Yeah.
But I mean, it all makes sense. And there's nothing on the Broncos offense where I'm sitting here and I'm like, they're going to take over the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs defense is too good right now. Like
they're real good.
This is a very different season for Kansas City because all the concerns that we've had in the past years during the regular season are not the concerns and all the things that we've been just taken for granted. It's kind of like, this is interesting that it's working. We'll see how long it goes. I'm sure they'll figure it out, but they're fine.
This will be Mahomes' first year with the top 10 DVOA defense so far. Like, think about that. The guy has already accomplished so much, and now he's got a superstar defense. Damn. Score prediction. I don't have much analysis on this. Everything you guys said is true. They were just going to demolish him. 42-9.
Ooh, I love it. All right.
Oh wow. I'll give Denver a little more credit on offense just because I think they'll get a pop or two here. But I'll say like 42 to like 17. I can't. I mean, they scored some. They scored some against the Green Bay Packers. They're not.
Their offense hasn't really been all that bad. It's just that I think
Spags the defense.
Spags also just going to come out and do some fun stuff.
Yeah, I'll see a little bit like not close but closer. I'll say like 34-17. I think it's like a relatively like not terrible blowout. I think the Chiefs will just kind of get up pretty big and let it coast from there for the most part. Falcons Titans. So I'll just start with the fact that the Falcons do not move me very much right now in general, right? And like
They
I
play
think
very
it,
boring football.
yeah, and it's not really even the problem. I just think that like watching their games, I'm like, I can't convince myself that this team has a different gear that it can reach with its current core, like current setup that it's in. And part of it is Desmond Ritter, like when he is playing okay as a passer, something else happens, like the fumble that was weird when he was trying to score last week, and like just stuff happens, right? Something happens with him. It feels like every week, and then like the Bijan thing, which granted, like I don't even want to get into the controversy if there is one or whatever else. It's just basically like guy didn't feel well, I guess, wasn't on the report. Nobody seemed to know that was going to happen. Definitely screwed with a lot of people's fantasy and other things, which sucks for them, but it is what it is. That was a weird thing. Didn't hurt him ultimately because they still won, but that was strange. Hopefully he's feeling better. But they're facing a Titans team that's going to be quarterbacked by maybe two people, depending on the situation. Will Levis and Malik Willis, neither of which are probably going to be world beaters, you assume. So it's just kind of, what do you say about this? What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, this one is. I think the Falcons are going to steamroll, right? Like the
You
Falcons are
assume,
what
right?
the
You assume.
Titans. Like it's Arthur Smith from the Titans. They're built very similarly,
Yes.
and they're just modern. So yeah, the Falcons have problems, but they're good enough to to win this one pretty comfortably.
Exactly.
Go like 20-13.
Okay. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that we'll see one of it. They explicitly stated we will see both Malik Willis and Will Levis. So, however they decide to do that, I'm very interested to see because Malik Willis did not play that bad in his spot start for Tannehill. So I don't know why they wouldn't just go with one guy.
I think it's because he can't avoid, like he won't throw the football for some reason. Like if you notice, like he just gets sacked. He doesn't throw. It's like he's afraid to throw. It's very weird. If you watch the end of that, like the game he came in.
I know. Part of me thinks though, because when I watched him play last year, I don't think they let him throw the football. I feel like every time
he was a rookie last year, especially.
But I know, but there's like certain times where I watch a quarterback go out, and it's clear that he's going to be in there, and they like literally it's just like, no, you're going to run the ball, and that's just like a key in like. Yeah, the dude's never played before. You're gonna do all run, like at least let him toss a couple. Like, come on, he's a quarterback. So
it's weird.
Yeah. However they want to do that, I don't know what's gonna happen with that. But that's never been a recipe for success. So that's where, if you're an Atlanta fan in this game with Tennessee's defense, you need to see the next step from Desmond Ritter this week. If like they pretty much have a cakewalk to the top of the NFC South, as long as they don't shoot themselves in the foot and the Saints don't like discover something with Alvin Kamara, because it's coming. They're like figuring it out. They're playing. Their offense is getting a bit better under the direction of him. But that you like Tennessee's defense is a defense to pass against. If Ritter can't get it going against Tennessee, there are some major concerns. And as we just talked about, maybe you send that Godfather offer for Kyler Murray, so that way the offense can take that next step and actually be lethal with the weapons that it has.
That'd be fun, yeah, if they did that. What's your score prediction there?
I want to say Atlanta like 24-10, but it's going to be contingent on Ritter actually having a good game in the pocket.
Yeah, I'm going to say that Falcons do win this game pretty comfortably just because, again, the fact that the Titans are playing two quarterbacks means they are playing zero, essentially, in my opinion, but whatever. The question is, like, obviously, how much are they playing Willis, and, like, when is he getting in? Is he just going to come in to do some, like, running stuff, which, again, it's like it's weird because they know then if that's how they
Which means then they're also intent on making this Will Levis's first snaps of him being the one passing the ball, which I think is more interesting than them asking Will Levis to just rush the ball.
Yeah, I don't know. Point is, Falcons should win this comfortably, almost kind of regardless, unless the quarterbacks play very well for the Titans randomly.
All any team has had to do is watch the Saints over the past 4 years with Taysom Hill and watches the entire offensive chemistry and momentum got crapped on unless Taysom Hill did something positive. He went in there and had a bad play. The drive died. You can't dual quarterbacks does not work.
It's funny. Yeah. Well, I'll say 24-13 Falcons. Saints Colts. Speaking of Saints, Colts are very much a scrappy team still, even with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. He's going to have bad weeks. He's going to have weeks like he had last week, right? It's going to kind of fluctuate. And the Saints defense is still very good, so that's going to be a tough matchup. Then again, they did just hang 30 plus points on the Browns, so anything can happen in the NFL. But this is a game I think the Saints really have to win for sure. Like this is a moment for them to get back to 500, to stay in the race in the NFC South, and they have to go on the road to do it. And I do think the Colts are a tough team to go on the road and try to beat, especially with how scrappy they're playing. But what do you think, Tony?
I am shocked by how much I think Shayne Steichen is the real deal. What he did to what I going into the weekend thought was the best defense in football, and like nobody's hanging 38 or whatever the hell they hung on him. I know broken plays, whatever. Like the Josh Downs long touchdown was a broken play, right? But like the fact that they did it. And they play with such pace. They play with such energy. They lean into the fact that they're a young team that's just trying to do stuff. I think the Colts are a team that is trying to really, innovate and win. The Saints are a team that is trying to pull everybody back to the early 2010s and win the way that teams won back then.
I know how that
the Saints are a better team, but give me the Colts 24-18. I just think that they have more answers, and the Saints offense is very funneled through one player, and that feels like it can be taken out of the game because they're only doing one thing.
Yeah.
I would feel less confident about the Saints. However, I feel like last week, despite losing to Jacksonville, was a win for New Orleans because they did show some offensive cohesion. And the one thing I'm learning is, so you have Jamal Williams back. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is the front. You start off with the Alvin Kamara, and then that opens up the rest. I mean, this is what they were waiting for. It was going to take a couple games. This is kind of like his week 3, week 4. So it makes a lot of sense because we watch all these teams at the beginning of the season take a couple weeks to get into it, especially with how the preseason has started and how they've like done how starters get time and all that. But if you're the Saints, you need Derek Carr to take advantage of a good situation here, a good matchup, and get one back after losing. And really, it's a Texans game that they dropped that they shouldn't have dropped. But you still have a path open. It's Atlanta's 4-3, and the rest, and Tampa's 3-4. There's still a very open path to taking the NFC South, but it just starts with this offense not looking like Andy Dalton's under center, and you wouldn't have looked any different. So my thing right now is the defense. I know that the Browns have a fantastic defense, and same thing. I want to see Gardner Minshew do it 2 weeks in a row against 2 top 5 units. And that's where I'm like, okay, if you can do it 2 weeks in a row, Shayne Steichen, all right, cool, gotcha. But I, as we said, broken plays, all that stuff, I could see it being a one-off week any week in the NFL, any team can win. So I'm going to put my money a bit on a close game for the Saints, but I could also see Indianapolis winning this game easily. So I'll say 24-21 Saints.
Yeah, I think the Andy Dalton comment, Zach, is kind of where I'm at with the Saints team. It's like, it really sucks that I don't think there's a difference in their offense between what you do with Dalton and who's going with Carr. And I think that's ultimately why, like, that move, as much as we knew it was because they were desperate to continue to compete, right? It's because that's what they do. It's short-sighted for a lot of reasons, and I think it's kind of come back to bite him. But he's not elevating anything, right? Like, this is not a guy that's going to elevate your offense beyond what Dalton was even able to do. And I think until that changes, which I don't know if it's going to change, they're going to be in a fight with almost any team that they play. And I think the defense obviously can help keep them in games, and they have. The Colts, man, they're a tough team to go on the road and play. Like I said, they are very much well coached, better coached right now for sure. And I just feel like they're going to win this one at home. I think I'm going to take the Colts 24-17. I think that they get it done, and the Saints are definitely searching for answers after
if there's any silver lining for New Orleans in the offense with the struggles this year, it's that I know people are dogging on them, but again, as I said last week, when you're Alvin Kamara the past 2 years and you're literally the only option, of course you're not going to have a good time. All the defense has to do is key on you. He has looked much better through the first few games he's played this season compared to the last few seasons, and him playing better is a boost. If they can take advantage of that, because that's been the struggle too. His last 2 years, he's been basically a no-show. He has not had the performance that he normally has had. If they can get him back, that should then put more for the rest of the offense. But it's, can they get that in time before every team is like, oh yeah, wait, let's just key back in on him.
Yeah, you hope so. Let's move into the interesting games here. Eagles and Commanders. I had this as interesting because, of course, Commanders are in a situation where they are very much up against the wall, being 3-4 now and having some very off weeks. Losing to the Giants obviously did not help them. Good for Taylor and everyone with the Giants, but if they're going to do something, if they want to try to make something of this season, it's got to be this week. They already played the Eagles very, very hard, obviously. Very nearly beat them, of course, with that miraculous last-second touchdown to tie the game. Like, they can play this team, and they have played this team relatively well. I mean, they were one of the only teams to beat them last year, obviously. So they have to come out, especially being at home this time. And if they want to keep their season alive, it has to be now. And the Eagles are coming off their biggest win of the year over your Dolphins there, Zach. They're definitely a big game for them. What do you think, Tony, with this one?
I think that the Eagles are not going to let this one get close enough to go to overtime. They're just going to put them away. I know these teams always play close games, but the Sam Howell thing has been building and building and building. All these sacks. They got him for 5 last time. I think they can double that number this week.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
So, and then AJ Brown is playing. He's in the midst of one of the best wide receiver stretches of the last decade. Like, he is on fire right now, and that man is going to bully Emmanuel Forbes hard.
Well, Emmanuel Forbes isn't
be on the field. I do not think he'll be on the field.
That's probably a better move.
They benched him They benched him 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
all right, so who is it? Like Benjamin St. Juste we're doing this too?
Yes.
Dan Johnson, actually, I think.
No, it's St. Juste.
I thought he plays in the slot.
All right, well, regardless, AJ Brown's going to clown. Give me the Eagles 38-20.
Ooh, fun. All right, what do you think, Zach?
So like we said, these teams match, surprisingly, as where they seem to be on the end of the spectrum. These teams match up very, 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 very well, and it has everything to do with the defense of the Commanders and how they play the running game. They play the running game fairly well against Philadelphia. This is when, and it's as we just said about AJ Brown, he's been having a great time. Jalen Hurts needs to unlock every single receiver tonight, because that is how you attack the Commanders team. You pass the ball, you get into the secondary. Look, they have one Kendall Fuller. Kendall Fuller's a fine player, but outside of that, it's not great. So you attack this secondary, and the Eagles have the ability to do it. Also, something that was lost in this week, Jason Kelce's teasing his retirement again. I just announce it. Just say you're going to do it. Don't do this, because you did it last year and you made a whole Amazon documentary about it and then didn't retire. So I
would milk it for everything it's worth.
Oh, I mean, I totally get it. He's sitting there. He's like, oh yeah, maybe I'll call it quits.
Yeah, maybe I'll retire.
He's fantastic.
I would be Brett Favre just every offseason minus the pictures. And the fraud.
Maybe the fraud. The alleged fraud. Excuse us. Don't want to get a lawsuit.
I'll take that one on. It's fraud.
But I think the bigger thing, and we were talking about the Eagles defense. There were a lot of comments this week from Ron Rivera about the Commanders' offensive line, and Sadiq Charles is now out. There's going to be issues. So Sam Howell, be ready for a long night. Learn how to throw the ball away.
Is this the week that Jalen Carter locks in the Defensive Rookie of the Year award? Like, does he just single-handedly rip off 6 sacks and guarantee it for himself?
That'd be hilarious and also possible. I will say, again, the Eagles and Commanders play each other tough, but it feels like the Eagles kind of figure things out a little bit against the Dolphins. Not to the point that they are going to take off to the same level I think they were last year. I think that level is going to be hard to reach in the regular season at least. But they've figured things out a little bit. With A.J. Brown playing the way he is, you hope that Devontae Smith can kind of kick things into another gear as well if Hurts continues to play well. I'll say 31-20. I'll take them. So, relatively easy game, but not anything too crazy.
So hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
with how explosive the Dolphins offense is, do we not feel like that there's possibly a sense of like Alabama syndrome going on with how teams are preparing? Because like I understand that they beat Miami and like it was a fantastic game, but I also feel like they probably put together like one of the most serious game plans because they realized how big of a game this was. And part of me is just like they're gonna walk in this week and be like, "Let's the Commanders. We should be fine."
I mean,
I feel like with a lot of these teams, there is a level of like, oh man, this is like no other team can do to us what the Dolphins can. So we really need to sit down and prepare and be like, how do we stop the speed? And like that's I feel like
the Commanders aren't really a team they have to prepare for. Like
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Something new.
I can see where like
I can see this muted though, because they like you said, if they got really up for the defensive game planning there and throttled down on the defensive game planning for the next week, they've already done all their defensive game planning for the Commanders regardless. So like, I think it presents less, and then also, man, they don't have to game plan at all. I still think they can handle their business against them.
Yeah. I guess that's just, I mean, I guess maybe some of the urgency won't be there as much as to where like when you're going up against Miami, it's like, oh man, if we don't score on all of our opportunities, we could be in a tough spot. Whereas like, oh, we'll have a couple chances versus the Commanders. That's where I can see it not getting as high scoring as like that. Like they scored 31 points last week. Yeah. But they were also like, we need to cash in all of these opportunities to make sure that we take down the Dolphins because at any time they can they're liable to score.
I will say too, the thing with the Eagles I think the Jets game, they took it personal when they lost that.
Yes.
And I think that's part of why they played the way they did last week. And I think it's also part of why for a while now, I think we're going to see the best of this team because they want to prove like, that game sucks.
I'm just waiting to see that passing offense completely unlocked. That's the only thing that's missing from last season.
The buttons aren't being pushed the same way that Steichen was. And it's probably not going to be the same, but I think it can get to a similar-ish level, at least at some point. Let's go Jets-Giants, talking about the Jets as well. Huge game for the Jets. This is their chance to firmly put themselves back into actually being possibly a playoff team. Zach Wilson, obviously, there's I forget who it was, but some like radio guy was complaining about him like spending time with his girlfriend on the bye week, and I'm like, it's the bye week, dude. Like, what are we doing?
Gosh, NFL players have a family. How dare they?
That was weird, but like, this is a huge opportunity for not only Zach Wilson but the Jets to beat a team that they very easily can beat, especially with the way the defense is playing. The Giants are looking more like a real football team with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback and things getting a little bit more settled. But if they can win this game, it gives them a chance to actually compete down the stretch. And Zach Wilson has a chance to show that he's at least a viable quarterback, if not a good quarterback, obviously, right? That's kind of still far away, but he can at least be a viable one. So what do you think, Tony?
I am really perplexed with this line. Like, I know we feel good about the Giants the past 2 weeks, but come on. I said in the group chat last night, under the influence of many cocktails, that the Sabres and Avalanche, who puck drops at 1 p.m. on Sunday, are going to collectively score more points than the Jets and Giants, who kick off at 1 p.m. on Sunday. I think I still stand by that, like, because the Sabres have a bunch of goalie injuries right now. Defensively, they're not that strong. They can still put points on the board, and the Avalanche can they're going to reach like 14 points in that game. I don't know if this game reaches 14 points. I'm going to put it like 17-6. I think that the Jets defense can really take the Tyrod's deep ball away, and then I don't know what the offense can do from there. So yeah, I think the Jets win this one pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I get that. What do you think, Zach?
I don't know. There were some things that I saw last week that I really liked from New York that really started to, because I watched the Commanders game. I watched the Commanders game. I have to. It's the only thing that's on TV. So there was some stuff that I really liked because they got Jalen Hyatt involved last week, which was really good. Darren Waller is having a fantastic connection with Tyrod Taylor. They're getting John Michael Schmitz. Looks like he's coming back this week. Evan Neal's coming back this week. Thomas is still doubtful. He's getting some protection back, but my bigger thing is if the Giants win this week, based on Dable's comments, I don't like the future or Daniel Jones's future in New York. It seems extremely questionable. Because after going up to bat for him pretty much the entire season, there was a lot of what would I say? Questions, like questionable. Like he was just like kind of like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, because I don't think you can't really dismiss the idea that Tyrod has been playing better for New York, but I wouldn't even necessarily say he's playing better. He's playing more sound and mechanical football and not taking the risks, which is Tyrod Taylor's staple. That's why he's been in the league so long. And I mean, he's not a bad, like he is a mediocre starter. He's not going to elevate your team to anything, but we are fully seeing right now what last season did in New York, and completely outmatched expectations. And personally, I feel like after having a stellar season with Daniel Jones, this season with Tyrod Taylor, it seems a bit more of like what they should have expected and how last season should have gone. I feel like it's better for them, and as far as their like growth, and it doesn't like fully max them out, because they came into the season with like, oh yeah, well we could get back to the playoffs. It's like that roster is not a playoff roster, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Because I definitely think that the Giants have been playing well. I don't think that I don't say that they're a better team than the Jets, but I do think that Brian Daboll can scheme up something to. I mean, hell, he kept that game with the Bills close. They can definitely keep a game with the Jets close. So, I could see them winning.
Yeah, fair enough. I will say the thing I'm really curious about is, can Zach Wilson deal with the Giants' defense with the way Wink Martindale calls defense, right? This is the type of defense that Zach Wilson would struggle against typically, right? Like this is a guy who's going to bring a lot of different pressure. He's going to try to get after him, show him different things. And I think his level of play in this game, with the Giants playing better in recent weeks, is going to be a way to kind of judge how the rest of the season could possibly go. Because he's had good moments. He's had a lot of bad moments still kind of Zach Wilson out there. If he can actually like be part of the reason that they win this game, and not just kind of be out there and exist until the defense can do something, that's going to be the most telling thing. I think even if they win this game and Wilson looks more like what he normally looks like, it doesn't mean a whole lot to me that they win this game. Like that's kind of the thing with them. I will say I expect them to win. I think it's going to be, like you said, Tony, a very low scoring game. I'll say 14-10, I guess. I'll say the Jets win there. It's going to be a slugfest most likely. Patriots at Dolphins, and I have this one as interesting solely for the fact that the Patriots looked like a football team last week. Unfortunately, Tony, sorry to say that. And the Dolphins, obviously, they're coming off of a loss to the Eagles. Will they kind of unload on the Patriots this time? Do you think they can kind of just take out their frustrations at home? I'm curious to see that. I just kind of want to see how much fight the Patriots actually really have left in them at this point in the season. What do you think, Tony?
I think that making the Dolphins only 9.5-point favorites should be bulletin board material in their locker room.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's offensive. Like, so I understand where, like, so I don't actually understand it, but I think Vegas still sees the Bills in a very high light. Like they still have them way up in the Super Bowl odds. They're still making us 8.5, 9.5-point favorites against the Bucks, and every single week we show them who we are. We're a team that plays a bit closer games right now. We're still figuring some stuff out. So they took the wrong message from the Bills-Pats game. They saw the Pats beat the Bills, who they thought were good, and were like, oh wow, the Pats might be a competitive team again. No. You took the wrong message. You should have brought the Bills' expectations down and kept the Pats' expectations the same. And then they're doing the inverse of that with the Dolphins having lost last week. Yeah, no, the Dolphins team is like 18 points better at minimum than this Patriots team. I know it was a 7-point game the first time they played this season, but no, the Dolphins are going to steamroll the Patriots. This is such a silly line. This is so reactionary to just last week. There is such a clear gap between these two teams, and the Dolphins are going to get on top of them early and run away with it. I'm pretty certain.
Fair enough. What do you think?
I guess score prediction 40-21.
All right.
Ooh, wow, I like that.
Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, no, I look, I am so freaking tired of when I go into work and the Dolphins lose because they've lost twice, and everybody looks at me and they're like, "What happened?" And I'm like, we played the
NFL.
Bills and we played the Bills and the Eagles. If you're telling me in week 8 that I'm 5-2 when I lost to the Bills and the Eagles, I'm fine.
That's not a bad season.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take it.
So like look, some injuries last week. I really want to see Achan, right? Achan. That's how it's said now.
Yeah,
Achan, yeah.
Achan. I don't want to. I'm trying to get everybody.
Did he end up on IR? Or did I not?
He's on. Yeah, he's on short-term IR. I want to see him back because that was so exciting. I look. We played one of the better defenses that we've played all season last week. Of course, Raheem Mostert got shut down. Tua was not that bad. Like they just didn't.
It was really that one.
Yeah,
pass where I'm like, but that's what he does. Like it happens.
Yeah, there's always one. There's always one.
It happens. Yeah,
and it blows my mind because when it happens, the entirety of Dolphins Twitter is like, "Oh no, throw him out, get him out of here. It's over."
This is what this guy does.
I'm just like, guys, it happens every game. What are you talking about?
It happens.
So yeah, I have no concerns. I think last week a leaf turned over for the Patriots. And like just a little bit. There was some response, and at least you got something after them.
They were actually trying to do things on offense too, which is like the first time I could really say that.
Yes. Yeah. So and that has to happen because I don't expect Bill Belichick to go out like this. He's gonna go out on his own terms. It's not gonna be whatever. But they've got to make some changes. They've got to make some direct effort. It's gonna be hard this week. And man, if I saw a tweet today, if they announce this defense and at the end of the defense they announce Jalen Ramsey coming out to start, Hard Rock is going to explode and there's no chance for New England. There's no chance. There's absolutely zero chance because that crowd's going to be in it before the kickoff hits. Nah, it's done.
Yeah, so I'll tell you. Oh, you want to give your score predictions?
I'll say 35-17 because I can't predict 40-point games in the NFL. Every time I feel like I do, it comes.
You guys average close. Like 38 points per game. You're allowed to predict 40-point games.
That's what happens when you score 70 in a game.
That's true. You know, there was a point. There was a point going into the second half of the Rams Steelers game where the Steelers still hadn't scored 70 points on the air. And the Broncos.
I don't. You know what? After last week, I don't want to talk about that game because I'm mad about that game.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to at some point. Anyway, moving on. I'll say for me, the Dolphins, they should win this game comfortably. I think that they ultimately will. I will say, do you think, Zach? So like, if Jalen Ramsey is theoretically healthy enough to play, do you think it's worth putting him out there in this game? Or do you think you could just say like, let's?
I mean, you could probably wait. I would maybe pitch count him if if the doctors and he feel like he is good to go. I
guess there's no reason not to play him then.
Yeah, and at least get him out in a couple plays. Yeah. Get your feet under you. I'm not like don't like have him be the starter. That's dumb. Right. But if both the doctors and him are agreeing, hey, my body's good to go, then putting him out there for a couple snaps, letting him get some action, letting him run around. I don't think that's a bad thing. That's kind of it's more so the idea that he's there. That's that's gonna send the entire franchise and the entire fan base insane because it's like this is what we've been waiting for.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'll give the Patriots just a little bit of credit because of the fact that they actually did try to do something on offense. And they did play them relatively okay on defense last time. Granted, they're missing guys on defense now, but still. I'll say 31-14. Like, they'll score a little bit.
Oh, it's okay. I'll happily take my second game against J.C. Jackson any day.
Right.
It's great to have him back in the division. Really.
Oh, yeah.
Great to have him.
Give me some pass interferences.
There you go. No, so, Vikings-Packers up next. And the Vikings suddenly, guys, aren't dead in the water quite as much anymore, are they? Defense.
I'm amazed that we did not talk about a single player from them in our trade segment.
It doesn't feel like they're selling anymore.
It doesn't. Yeah. And like the price for Danielle Hunter was going to be high enough where no one's going to probably pay it. So that was the one guy I could still see getting moved, but I don't think anyone's going to pay the price that they would want. And I don't think they should. I mean, he's having an unbelievable season for them, so it's hard not to want to keep him around. But Brian Flores has done really good with the defense. I know Zach invoking that name is probably sacrilegious for you, but
I don't care.
You're not dumb about it now. But he's had that defense.
We ended up better off. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. He's had the defense playing way better, despite honestly missing some things from last year, and if anything else. So that's really been good for them. Kirk Cousins showed out on primetime. Holy crap, guys, he did it. Good for him.
Potentially the best game of his career.
potentially the best game,
dealing.
like legitimately. Yeah, he was dealing.
Although Jordan Addison pick sixing a pass intended for him,
He did.
probably
And the
helped that.
worst part is that was the worst. I think the pass that was intercepted was a better pass than the one that wasn't intercepted, which is the
Yes.
ironic thing about it. Everything works out, right? Whatever. You take them, you win some, you lose some. But the Vikings suddenly aren't dead, and the Packers feel like they're dying a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think that's been one of the more disappointing things this
Yeah,
season after the hot start that Jordan Love
sucks.
and the offense had, and they've just completely folded.
It feels like, and I'll kind of start things with this one, but I think the Packers offense, when I watch them play, it feels like the spacing isn't there right now. It feels like the receivers aren't really getting open, and it feels like Jordan Love is pressing way too much, and especially that 3rd and 20, like just punt basically that he threw up like last week. Like it feels like nothing's really working for them right now, and they need a hard reset on offense. The defense just continues to kind of play down to its competition. I think it's because of the coordinator with Barry. Like I just don't think he's a good coordinator. He's a really talented unit, but they struggle to put it all together week to week. Like this is a big opportunity for the Vikings to go into Lambeau, get a win, and get back to 500, and actually have a chance to make some noise in the NFC this year. So, what do you think?
I hate to validate somebody that I dogged on this for so long, and I know Jordan Love won't be loud enough to say it. Maybe Aaron Rodgers was right about the wide receivers.
I don't think there was ever a question about that.
No, okay, but it got to the point where he was just dogging on them so much. I was like, yo, you're not even giving them an opportunity. Like why would I want to go out there every week and just show up when you're just going to crap on me the entire time in any sort of press conference? I felt like there was a lot more of that going on last season because of how negative he was. But look, Jordan Love ain't saying anything, and they're still just not playing well. So that could be another team. Look, they're not necessarily out of it. I wouldn't say the NFC North, at least some of the NFC wildcard spots are going to be wide open. Maybe you make a move for Cortland Sutton. Maybe you make a move for Jerry Jeudy and try to get somebody on here to give Jordan Love another wide receiver to target. But we know that the Packers don't do this.
Yeah, they don't do that.
So I mean, that's why you want to make that move, but I don't think it's going to happen. I can see the Vikings winning this one. And it's going to set some alarm bells. I don't necessarily think it's going to set some alarm bells because I don't know what expectations Green Bay had for this season. So they'll have to move from here. I don't necessarily think this is a fault of Jordan Love. I don't necessarily think he's playing bad. It's just they don't have all the pieces there for this offense to like be cohesive in the passing game right now. They have Aaron Jones. He can do some damage in the run game, but their passing game just does not have the pieces right now to be a unit. Unfortunately, like he's waited his time, but he's just going to take a couple more seasons.
You have a score prediction there, Zach?
I'm
going to say Vikings 31, Packers 17.
Okay. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I was really high on the Packers going into the season. I picked them to win that division, get to 11 wins. Thought things would go really well on offense. Like you said, Jordan Love hasn't been terrible like recent like stats and everything would indicate. He hasn't been helping, and as much as I agree that the receivers are young and it was known, right? This year is all about getting the young guys to gel together because they're all on rookie contracts for the next 5 years, right? So 4 or 5 years. And so I don't think it's all on Love. I don't think it's all on the receivers. I think a lot of it is on LaFleur, who he's the reason I was high on them, but I don't think he's doing anything to make life really easy for Love.
No,
like
he's not.
Love is attempting high level of difficulty throws. They're getting themselves into 3rd and long situations that are disadvantageous. He's not the kind of guy who's going to be able to operate well in 3rd and long when people are just teeing off and it's like they have offensive line issues of their own. So there's just a lot going on there. I'm not willing to make any big takeaways about any offensive pieces there just because this is a learning season and they're learning. I thought they would be I thought things would be different, but that's just where we are now. The Vikings, what a turnaround they've had. They just have star players. They're kind of built, and they're nowhere near this level of team. They're kind of built like the Rams of old, where it was just stars and scrubs, like just undrafted free agents starting at linebacker and like, but you just got. Yeah, you've just got a few star pieces that are really everything's being funneled through, and then you have a somewhat creative offensive play caller. So the Vikings, I think, are going to win this game. Just they're going to continue this trajectory they're on. I don't think it'll be perfect. Like I think 28-24. I think it'll be there's going to be some back and forth. We're going to hopefully get some long touchdowns out of the Packers offense, but I do think that the Vikings right now are just playing better football.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Vikings will win 27-21. I think it's going to be a pretty good game, but I think that they're just better right now, and I think
Oh yeah, I
they have
forgot
more
the
to
fact
play
that the
for.
Vikings only play 1-score games. My bad.
Fair enough. No, I do think they'll win this one. I think that it gets them obviously back in the conversation for a playoff spot. I think that for what they are, I think they're again. I don't really think they're a much different team than last year in terms of overall like play level. I think it's just that this year they haven't been as lucky, right? And I think that luck's starting to turn around a little bit, get back more to average, and maybe they can make something happen. Raiders Lions. I have this on interesting solely because I want to see what the hell the Lions do. I want to see how they respond to what happened to them last week. This is a team that we obviously have a lot of expectations for now with the way that they've played to start the year. They've been historically a slow starting team under Dan Campbell. They've turned that around, but now they did have their first big hiccup of the year. Obviously, the Seattle game, they lose in overtime, not a huge deal. Seattle's a good team. But this one, last week, the Ravens really put it to them in just about every way possible. And I just want to see, can they, against a team that isn't really on their level at all, can they go out there and like confidently actually put them away and have a full dominant game? So what do you think, Tony?
I think that the Raiders are one of the worst teams in football, and it's really weird that they have 3 wins.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
They gave up 30 points to Tyson Bagent.
Yeah.
A year ago, Tyson Bagent was getting sacked 6 times and throwing 2 interceptions
At
against
Shepherd
Colorado
University.
School of Mines.
Shout out Luke Crumrich, by the way, former
Yes.
ATB guy, loves Tyson Bagent. Tweeting about him, thought about him a lot during the Bears game. Just want to throw that out.
Yeah, he's a Tyson Bagent fan.
He is.
I've heard
He
people
is.
are calling him Teabag now, which is an interesting nickname to acquire.
I like that. I like
but
Orange is better for sure.
Oh my god!
But we're not talking about Teabag. Right? We're talking.
We'll get to that next year.
We'll get to that
We're
next.
talking about the Raiders and how they allowed those 30 points to happen and how they only scored 12 of their own. This is a god-awful team. The Lions are going to unleash all of their fury on this team in prime time. They're going to make everybody remember that they're still a very real team. And then Devontae Adams is going to find his way to Detroit the next day, hopefully.
He will just stay. He'll just stay there.
Yes, he won't have to go anywhere. So
He's like,
give
sorry,
me the Lions.
sorry,
like,
Josh. Sorry, Josh. I'm
I
not getting
think-
on the plane.
I think we're seeing a 50 burger.
Dude, I would love that.
I think
a lot.
we're gonna. I think I'm gonna go 51-13. I think we're getting a 50
they're going to
burger out of
exercise
this
some
thing.
demons.
Yeah.
The only other thing I will add to this game is if Jimmy Garoppolo's still out, right?
Yes.
Well, he's back at practice. I think he might
Oh,
actually.
okay.
I think he might be available for this game, possibly.
Okay.
Well,
if
him, Aiden O'Connell, Brian Hoyer, they're all the same.
Stop there. If he is not playing, there is zero reason for the Las Vegas Raiders to be playing Brian Hoyer. I don't care, Josh McDaniels. Put your rookie in and at least see what he can do. Because there's no with the talent level of this team, there's no reason to play the veteran. There's zero reason. I don't think it gives you any advantage. I don't think it does anything for you. At least put the rookie in and let him try. At least let him try to do something fun. Because them with Hoyer is just boring as hell, and I don't want to watch it. They're not a good football team. They're awful, but they don't have the ability to do anything else because they're poor. So yeah, I think the Lions are going to eviscerate all of their demons from last week. And yeah, no, I'll go again. Like 50 and 40 point games are really hard for me to just grab out there, but I'll call this one a 49 to 10 game with the ability to get to 50, possibly 60 points. I could see just like, Jahmyr Gibbs, go.
Yeah. I love the score predictions, guys. I'll be the one to just be like, all right, they'll beat them, but I don't know if I want to say 40 just because it's funny. You guys can pile on the Raiders. I'll say 38-10.
That's basically 40.
Hey, it wasn't though. You were 40. He's 50. What one?
He said 51. I said
you guys
49.
are predicting 100 points between the two. I'm not. No, we're good. Anyway,
that's only 7 touchdowns. That's not ridiculous.
Hey,
actually, no. That's only 5. That's only 6.
7 for you. 7 for you. It'd be 7
touchdowns would be 70
right,
points.
Let's do 7 times 7, guys. is 49.
Oh wait, crap! 10 touch. Oh my god,
Zach, you're
It's
screwed
too
up with
early.
the
It's
Dolphins.
too early.
This is
Yeah,
what they- no,
exactly.
anyway.
I'm so
All
messed up.
All right. Bears Chargers.
Points.
Yeah, Bears Chargers. Okay. This is the Chargers' last stand, in my opinion. If they can't beat this freaking team, then they can't beat anybody, right? Like, what is going on here? Like, I've said this before. Brand Staley, not good, sucks, get him out of here. I've said this before. And granted, Herbert also has not been playing well the last couple of weeks, which makes me sad. If they can't put this team away, if they can't confidently like go in and like beat this team at home on Sunday Night Football, which this is on Sunday Night Football, I forgot. Jesus Christ. Anyway,
Thank God.
Can we talk? Yeah, can we talk about the fact that they added like flex rules this year and they have yet to use them for some horrific games?
If they don't do
Like,
it, if they weren't going to do it for this.
Shayne, I don't know why. I thought you were saying that it wasn't Sunday Night Football,
No,
which is why I said thank God.
Oh, no,
I do
it
not
was.
feel excited to have learned that it is Sunday Night Football.
It
That
is Sunday Night
sucks.
Football.
Flex it.
And yeah, again, Tyson Bates is starting a quarterback. Good for him, man. He wins his first game. He plays well within what they asked him to do. We're talking about a Bears team quarterback by a D2 quarterback, and the Chargers who can't beat anybody because everything about them sucks pretty much right now. What do you say, Tony? What do you think?
I think it's very, very funny that a 2-4 team is playing a 2-5 team, and one of them is favored by 8.5 points.
Yeah, because that's what should happen, but
It's not going to because it's the Chargers.
This is the Jim Harbaugh Bowl, by the way.
Yeah.
He will be coaching one of these two teams, but not gonna get any deeper into that than we need to.
Don't look surprised.
I'm
Don't look
so
surprised.
confused. I'm so confused.
Jim Harbaugh he ain't long for Michigan. There's
The
too much
NCAA
going around.
Seems convinced to
Okay. I got you now. Okay.
Yeah. So one of these teams will have a new head coach, or actually both of them will probably have a new head coach. But the Chargers, I do think, get one in the win column here just because they have to be better than this team. They have to be so much better than this team. Justin Herbert alone, like, just go Super Saiyan, do what you have to do. Just get the damn job done. Stop losing to these bad teams.
It's not even Herbert. It's the defense.
Well, yeah,
I mean, Herbert,
but like
Herbert,
he played a pretty bad game the last one.
Last couple of weeks haven't been quite as
well. Okay, but that goes back to the whole argument about like the defense getting tired works the exact same for the offense. If you're just telling your offense to go out there, play, or like drive to do
I
something,
agree with that. I get it.
then
But
like you're always asking them to come back in games. Like, yeah, no, he's going to pull up some bad performances because he has to do everything.
this is true. Yeah.
So that's where, like, look, Tyson Bagent played a good game last week against a bad defense. He's playing another bad defense this week. I'm putting a warning out for Justin Fields because the Bears did the wrong thing. You do not put a white backup quarterback behind Justin Fields. That gives too much chatter for the fans. That gives too much. It does because it's going to be Tyson Bagent should be the starter. Tyson Bagent should be the starter. He got us a win. It happens every time. Look what they did in Cleveland. So that's how it works. Look what they did in New York. You had Daniel Jones and you had Tyrod Taylor. There's not going to be clamor to have Tyrod Taylor come in because Daniel Jones is starting. It's unfortunate thing about the NFL. There's too many examples across the league.
It happens.
Too many examples.
Yeah,
So
it happens.
if the Bears get this win, I am concerned for Justin Fields because it's going to be a firestorm in that, like, just around the team in general, because it's not going to be to the same extent as like for validity of the Tyrod Taylor Daniel Jones thing. It's going to be like completely out of proportion. Like, oh yeah, he's playing well, but it's like, no, this team just needs more. I'm sorry.
Yeah. If the Bears win this game, all I will say is, like, first of all, they shouldn't want to win this game, right?
If the Bears win this game,
the Panthers will keep losing for them. They don't have to worry
I know,
about that.
but like,
if the Bears win this game, Brandon Staley will be the first head coach fired this season.
I already think he probably should have just, like, even just for the sake of the sanity with the NFL and people around it.
I agree. Like, it could happen this week if
yes, if they lose this game, it could happen this week because again, he's supposed to be the defensive coach, and the weak link on this team is the defense, and by far there's no. You should have already done it. but they haven't yet. So
Yeah.
they've had their opportunities after
Especially if
the last few
Bajan like
seasons.
actually plays well and not just like dinks and
Yeah.
dunks his way around the field. And yeah, I'm gonna predict the Chargers to win 24 to 20 just for my own sanity because I don't want to see the freaking Chargers lose to this Bears team. But like I very well don't feel good about it. Like I can't feel good about picking this team right now. I just
I'm
can't
going to
do
say
it.
that the Chargers win 21-20 on a last drive touchdown, and they have to get the 2-point conversion to win.
Somehow, yeah, going with 19 points.
Because it was 20-13 and they had to get 8 points. And they're like, we're not going to overtime. I'm sorry.
I would agree with that if I was them because Steelers got to do something to Anyway, did you give us a score prediction, Tony?
I did not yet. It's so funny you guys brought up the idea of overtime. I'm just gonna go with the 27-27 tie. I don't know what to say about these teams.
I like that. Yeah, just screw everybody up. Nobody
Yeah.
wins, literally. Texans
Nobody
Panthers,
wins. We all have to watch this. Nobody wins.
Yeah,
nobody wins.
We all have to watch
Literally,
on Sunday Night Football.
the people at home, the teams, nobody wins. Everybody sucks. It's bad.
Unless the Bears win, then maybe they do win. But
I don't know. Texans Panthers. This originally was in the man category, but I do understand why you guys wanted it in this category because rookie quarterback matchup, folks.
1-2.
Bryce Young is playing better recently in this offense, which is I'm really happy to see that. But CJ Stroud has obviously been the front runner for rookie of the year in my opinion, especially with Anthony Richardson now injured out for the rest of the year.
And Devon Achane injured right now.
Yeah,
it's also
really down to him and
quarterback. He's a quarterback, so he's going to win it.
Yeah, but when you're averaging 10 yards a carry, I'm sorry.
Wasn't it like 12 actually? No, anyway.
I'm going to go for double digits. I don't care if it was over. Double digits is still insane.
No, anyway. Point is this is a very fun matchup. I think that the Panthers again have been playing better. Their defense is just so banged up. Like I think even if the offense has been better, it just isn't enough right now to get them in the win category. But obviously, welcoming the Panthers into town could be an interesting game. What do you think, Tony?
I'm thinking I might actually go to this game because the Bills already played. Obviously, my Sunday's open, and I see on ESPN these tickets are $22. So nice. I live 8 minutes from the stadium. There's kind of no point not to, right? But that's nice. I asked for this to be put in the interesting bucket because of the rookie quarterback matchup, and we do it with every quarterback class. It's totally unfair to the players because there's so much situational stuff that goes on. But think about the Burrow Herbert, Burrow Tua Herbert debates.
The only one
this is the first chance for us to get that here. And
the only one of those that actually makes sense is the Tua Herbert one because there was actually some drama behind it. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, but we're gonna do this, and so let's just do this. Let's get an example of them playing each other. Year one, both coming off of a bye, so coordinators are cooking things up. A bit different methodologies here. Thomas Brown is officially taking over as play caller. You get 2 weeks to install everything that he wants to do. See what that impact is, and then on the other side, Bobby Slowick. I mean, it's his first time as a play caller, and he's killing it. So he's only gonna get better with time. Really excited to see these guys go head to head because they both built some momentum going into their buys. Obviously, CJ Stroud started from a much higher spot, but Bryce Young was starting to feel things out. I think we're going to get some points. I think the Texans are a much better team and are going to pull away, just especially defensively, being able to really just mug things up. I think give me Texans 28-20. I do think the Panthers are going to be able to get some points on the board, though.
All right, what do you think, Zach?
Yeah, compared to the last few seasons, what Houston's been able to put together, and with what the contract details of D'Amico Ryan's contract was, it was clear that they were ready to build something. And even in year one, it's completely different than we have seen for the past few years for Houston. They are playing competent, competitive football.
They're a real football team again.
There were games. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there were games past couple seasons where it was like, oh man, Houston upset. Oh man, that's awesome. They played a good game. Congrats, guys. But now it's like you expect them to come out and actually play a good game every week. The Carolina, I think Bryce Young learned a lot from having to sit that 1 week and watch Andy Dalton play the offense and just take what it gives you. I think that's one of the bigger things that all of these quarterbacks can learn is hey, you don't have to right out the gate be the savior. It's going to be pretty hard for you to do that. Just take what you got. Just do what you can, and you'll go and build from there. So yeah, Houston is just in a better position right now. And it's very interesting to watch how their whole plan is going to like change with how they continue to succeed. Because outside of Jacksonville, I'm not really like they're standing fine in the division. They can grab a couple more wins and be in the middle of the pack of the draft. It's very interesting to see how like this has changed very much. They get Tank Dell back this week, so that's a boost for them as well. Yeah, I see Houston winning this game, no problem. 27-17. I think they get it by double digits just because I'm not as promising on the Panthers offense. Even though they're like getting better, like there's still some more holes there. It's not as fleshed out as Houston, who is like, yeah, no, we've got something firm going on right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Houston definitely should be favorited here, and they are, even going into Charlotte there. But I think that I just wonder, like, for the Panthers, right? Are you going to make a move? Because we talked about that during the trade deadline. Like, is this a week where, like, if the offense still, like, if there's still something missing, which there's going to be, if they can't get it going off the bye, if the play calling change doesn't really make any major difference, do you look to add somebody right now, even in a season where you don't have your first round pick, and like you obviously that sucks because now you have no incentive to continue to lose. You probably should try to do what you can to get more competitive. It's going to be interesting to see, but I think
Or if you lose this week, do you consider the idea of moving some of your premium players who you're going to have to pay down the line to get back in the first round?
that's a whole other conversation. I think the Burns thing is kind of moved on.
Yeah, I mean, but
like
they could have some other pieces here and there to get some stuff to then go back up into the first round. It's all dependent.
I don't think those are mutually exclusive either. Like
No,
I think they're
I don't
both
think
buyers and sellers regardless of the result of this game.
yeah, because they need to find offensive consistency, and that's going to probably come from having to add pieces. But I think defensively, there could be some guys that they sell off that maybe they don't know if is going to be either long term future or just isn't going to make a difference this year moving forward. So it's hard to say.
A guy that shouldn't be available, but like maybe I would be all over Derek Brown if we could get him. Like I don't know what that price tag would be, but like if we're talking guys they can move and get a haul, like not a haul, but like get some recoup some value, like that's one. And then something that just popped into my head, a target for them, Hollywood Brown, right? Like he's on the outs in Arizona. He's in a contract year. They want. I don't like, so I said Cortland Sutton because he's got term on the contract. He's still like, but he is a little bit older. If they want to bring in somebody young who is going to, they can just give the contract and then they just have somebody there. I could see Hollywood Brown being something.
If I'm the team that's trading for Kyler Murray, I'm finding whatever way to package Hollywood Brown in that deal as well, because he played so much better once he got like their connection is proven all the way back to college. You want him with Murray. So like, that would be cool. But like I said, if I'm any team that's trying to get Murray, I'm also trying to find a way for Arizona to be like, hey, you really need Hollywood? Can you send him over here too? We'll sweeten the deal a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Just saw on Twitter, Steve Smith on College Game Day just took another shot at Jerry Jeudy. There's no way this man can go to Carolina.
Nice. That's great.
No.
That's hilarious. That's funny. All right. I'll say 24-17, by the way, Texans. All right. Let's get into our last few games here. The must-watch games. There wasn't, I don't think, a ton. This one, first one, mostly because one team is starting to get back to the point where we can start talking about them again after a really rough start. Their quarterback's getting healthy. And another one whose quarterback, it may or may not play in this game. And even if he does, I don't know how much of a difference it makes. I'm saying it. Anyway, Bengals, Niners, okay? Bengals going on the road to the 49ers. 49ers coming off of back-to-back losses where their quarterback finally looked like a person that's not, a god to them and to their fan base. This offense is still a little bit beat up, obviously. We'll see kind of what happens after Samuel gets back, and now Purdy with the concussion as well. He's dealing with that. I've heard that he might actually have a good chance of playing, even though most guys, when they go in the protocol, just miss that next week. It's kind of standard. He may or may not play, but kind of regardless, I think this is the Bengals' chance to go in and, one, get above 500 for the first time this year, and also show that they're the team that they've been the past couple of years. But what do you think, Tony?
I completely agree that the Bengals they're in a great get right spot. I wish both teams were fully healthy for this game because
that'd be
both of them are like the Bengals are the healthiest they've been this year. Talking is hard sometimes, folks. But the 49ers, they're real beat up. and they're losing skill players. Debo's not going to play in this one. I think Trent Williams is going to go, but it sounds like he's banged up. So like they're injured. I honestly think Sam Darnold is an upgrade. So regardless of who's playing QB, like they'll be fine. They'll be just fine. But the story of this game is just going to be that the Bengals are back. We do this every year, and I wrote them off. I was like, Burrow's calf is too big of an issue to surmount. You're not going to be able to figure this one out.
There was actual concern for that, though.
There was.
Yeah. But I've now just been like, I've seen enough where I'm like, oh yeah, they're figuring out the answers. They're back to the Bengals of old. I think we're, like you said, we're about to see them get to 500 for the first time, and then, or get above 500.
They're 3-3 right now.
So get above 500, and then I don't think they're going to look back. They're going to do that thing where they go on a 10, 12 game win streak because that's just what they do. This game feels like a very clear like trampoline game for them, where they're just going to jump off of this one and really start taking the season over and be the team that we all know they can be. Give me the Bengals 27-23. I do think that'll be like close and very entertaining.
Right. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, the Bengals are back. They're like, obviously there was concerns, and like as I think it was different concerns, like I said, because it wasn't necessarily like they were playing bad. It was like, oh man, Joe Burrow is hurt, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you built the ship out of Joe Burrow.
Yeah, if he can't physically do this, y'all have a problem. But then all of a sudden, like against the Cardinals, it was just like, oh yeah, no, give me the healing water. My calf is fine. And I'm just gonna rip these off like no problem. And they haven't looked back since. We were calling for it for forever. It finally happened. Brock Purdy lost a regular season game. Thank you. But the 49ers are still a good team. It's not like an indictment on them. Like it was just bound to happen. You can't just remain undefeated in the regular season for your entire career. That doesn't happen. You're going to lose games. Do I think it's a bit concerning with who they lost to? Maybe. But that's neither here nor there. It's going to be a good game. I don't think it matters if it's Darnold or Purdy underneath under center. It's the offense is set up to let pretty much any quarterback succeed unless your name is Trey Lance. I don't really think it matters. There's just so many things that Debo Samuel's out, but you still have Brandon Ayuk, who's been going nuts this year. You still got George Kittle, who it's not tight end week and he's not involved in Super Boost. He's allowed to go off. It was hard because last week the tight end Super Boost for FanDuel was Travis Kelce and George Kittle combined for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Travis almost did it his damn self in the first game. So it was like, oh yeah, Kittle's not doing anything. And he didn't. And it was like, man, they know this. They know exactly what they're doing. This is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. They're like, oh, we got it. We got him.
Yeah. So
free money.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the Bengals win this just because of some of the injury concerns for the 49ers. And look, if you're a San Francisco fan, a 3-game skid is not bad. You still have a plenty fine schedule. You're in the NFC. You've got games that you can win. You drop 3. It's okay. It's not a big deal. You would hope just fine. You would hope that one of these you would drop to a team like the Bengals instead of dropping it to like the Vikings.
Yeah. I'll say, did you give it a score, Zach?
No, I'm going to say Bengals. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring because these are still 2 pretty good defenses. So I'm going to say Bengals 24, 49ers 17. It's just like with the weapons gone, like the 49ers can generate some offensive momentum, but it's just not going to be as potent.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a lower scoring game than expected, but also, like I said, a closer game, especially with the Niners being at home. I think a lot of people are just going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. I'm assuming that they are favored in this game by a couple of points.
The Niners are favored by like 4.5 still. Okay. They opened much higher. That's a bad line.
Yeah, so I know they're getting
right now from our conversations. I am teasing the Dolphins and the Bengals lines for at least 6 points, so I can have the Bengals plus 10.5 and Miami -3.
There you go. Yeah. No, I'm gonna
smart teaser.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm gonna do 24-20 Bengals. I think they do go in and get this win with Sam Darnold probably at quarterback. So like even if Purdy plays, I think that the Bengals match up well, and I think that they're coming for sure. Right, they're coming down the pipe. Browns Seahawks. So Seahawks obviously still a really good team in the NFC. They've had their issues a little bit, but the Browns right now, man, they're winning games. Obviously, they're 4-2. The Colts game was weird. I really think they got bailed out. To be honest with you, I'm just going to say that. If you watch the end of that game, for sure, they got bailed out. But again, the defense made big plays, even though they gave up plenty of them as well. Like, this is still obviously a very good defense, despite what happened last week. But PJ Walker starting quarterback again. They tried to bring Deshaun Watson back. He went out there, threw a duck, and died, basically. Not sure really from there what happened, and then they just don't put him back in the game. At first, I thought I heard a concussion, I heard other things, and then it's like, I don't know. Like, this has been as big of a dumpster fire as I thought it could possibly be, and they're still 4-2. And I think that's kind of a testament to that defense and the coaching staff. But it's gotta hurt if you're Stefanski and Bear, like, watching what's happening with the quarterback position, right? So, but what do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I mean they went out, they did the despicable thing. They put the target on their back, and they're winning despite that move. They're not winning because of that move.
They're winning despite it.
Yeah. And that move is kind of the only thing standing between them and having the potential to jump into like the Super Bowl contender tier. So it's just very funny how karma came back to bite them. I do think this is going to be a really fun game. I think they both play very, very aggressively. Obviously, we're probably getting another PJ Walker game if I had to assume. I don't know how much Deshaun Watson is going to play the rest of the year. It seems like he just doesn't want to play football.
It's just really weird. Like, I've never seen somebody who like is just like, no, I'm not playing. Sorry.
I mean, you give me $60 million guaranteed, I might not be as motivated as I once was. I don't know, but the Seahawks offense is really, really fun because Geno is playing like a man who is not afraid of anything. He's not playing reckless, but he's just aggressively deep balling everything.
He's very confident in his arm.
And Shayne Waldron is just trying everything, and most of it is working. And then defensively, Devin Witherspoon, oh my God, like the energy he brings, they're fun. I know Cheno Nwosu's out for the season.
I really wish that quote. Hurts. I really wish that quote was real.
I know, right? That would have been so funny. I love those fake quotes. Like they're always that meme format will always get me to laugh. And then on the Brown side, obviously this defense is just so damn fun to watch. I think the Seahawks are a better team, but I think there's going to be a lot of like chaos in this game as well. So I'll give the Seahawks a narrow 20-18 win. But I think this is going to be a really, really fun, hard-hitting, explosives type game.
What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, no, this is going to be a big defensive game. Like, both these teams are playing very good on the defensive side of the ball. Cleveland's offense is hit or miss. Like, that goes to the chaos. Like, sometimes if they can connect on some of these long shots, they will. I mean, they scored 39 points last week. But like, it's just too inconsistent right now because they don't have any flow. And like, I think we saw last week with Indianapolis that, like, yeah, you can ask your defense to do a lot, but then when the offense is like, it was just rough. Last week was weird, but like this defense is being asked to do too much at times, and it's very evident. If they, like you said, if they want to take that next step, they need more from their offense because it's just not there. Granted, Nick Chubb's out, but Jerome Ford is filled in just fine. I don't think that's been necessarily a problem, but the quarterback play is just too sporadic. And that is what happens when your $60 million quarterback is just like, yeah, I'm not playing. So I definitely think that the Seahawks can score a little more than 20. I'd say like 23-17, 23-14. But like the issue being, I just don't see how Cleveland continues to keep scoring.
Yeah, the Browns offense is basically a 70-yard Jerome Ford run, and then like PJ Walker out there trying to do his best, and they get like a couple field goals. That's basically what their offense is most of the time right now. Which, again, if you're playing a team that isn't that great, or in the case of the Colts, just put up a bunch of points but couldn't find a way to win, mostly because, again, I think they got bailed out personally. That can work to get you 4-2. But I think against the Seahawks, you're going out to the West Coast, right? You have to travel out there. it's tough. I think that they're going to lose this game. I do think it's 24-17 Seahawks. I think this is going to be a mostly kind of like you said, Tony. Like there's going to be a couple big plays on both sides of the ball, but just it kind of just ultimately screeches to a halt, and the Seahawks just kind of grind it out and win. Rams Cowboys. I have this one on here because mostly the Rams feel like a team that is always right there. Like even against the Steelers last week, they had it and they let them hang around. And granted, you can't do that against the Steelers. The one thing you can't do against the Steelers is let them hang around because they will do some shit.
The Steelers did a fantastic job last week at shutting down Cooper Kupp. He did nothing.
A good thing too, because Puka Nacua ate us for lunch,
150 yards.
Second dinner.
Okay, but let's see. If you can shut down one of the two, I think that's good. I'd take one of them. It's like if you can shut down Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle beat you up, it's like all right, at least we shut down Tyreek.
Well, let's not talk about it. The point is, Rams are a better team than their 3-4 record. I really do think so.
Yeah,
for sure. And then the Cowboys, I don't know. I don't know what to feel about the Cowboys yet at this point. Still, their offense has been very hit or miss. The defense is obviously very good, but it doesn't have the same ceiling as it did before the injuries happened with them, especially at corner. Like, I feel like this is a game that they could easily lose, but I'm not sure yet. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I'm all over the Rams on this one. Money line spread every which way. I think that the Rams, like you said, they're better than this 3-4 record. They're a team that is going to be in every single game they're playing, and
feels like it.
They're a team with a veteran quarterback who's pretty damn near the top of like all of the game-winning drives, fourth quarter comeback drives, matches. So like I think they're built to play the style of games that they're playing this year, and so I'm really impressed with this Rams team, what they've turned around from what we all thought was going to be an unmitigated disaster. The way the young guys have stepped up, the way Stafford's had chemistry with the young guys, the way the defense isn't good, but it's making enough plays where it's not terrible. This is a team I want to see trade for a piece. I don't want to see them make a first-round draft pick next year. It's weird to me that they still have it. But give me the Rams winning 23-21, and give me the Rams then trading for some edge help. Josh Uche, New England Patriots, come on down. You're going to LA. Just give them somebody opposite Byron Young, because he's been impressive early.
He's been very good rookie. Yeah,
it's so wild to go into the Rams page and just look at their like 13, 14 long list of draft picks from last year.
No. They needed it.
Yeah, they did. Looking at the Rams schedule, outside of last week, which I would say is probably a loss they would like to have back, we're talking about the Rams being 3-4, and their 3 losses are the Eagles 23-14, and then 2 one-score losses to the Bengals and the 49ers. Again, as somebody who is a Dolphins fan, if you were to sit there at this point of the season, tell me outside of the Steelers, my 3 losses are the Eagles, 49ers, and Bengals, I'm fine with that. I am fine with that.
Especially this team,
especially this team. I mean, even if it was the Dolphins, I would be fine with that. Outside of the Steelers loss, that would be a little disappointing.
Thanks, Zach.
Hey, I'm sorry.
We'll talk about them next.
The offense. I want to hear your talks about the offense.
They don't.
So the Rams. The bigger question here is the Cowboys, because like this has been a really, really strange season. Tony Pollard is like MIA. Like he really has not been doing much after last season. Like he was a fixture on this offense. There was a reason why they let Ezekiel Elliott go. And now it's just like I never hear anybody talk about him whatsoever. Granted, I haven't been watching many Cowboys games, but like he was a topic of conversation of watch this Tony Pollard run, watch him catch and take this to the house. Like, but it's just not happening. The offense is stagnating. It's just not generating the pressure and the just what to the talent that they have. And I don't know how that gets easier against a good defense in the Rams. So I definitely can see the Rams winning this. And like, even again, it's just a weird season in the NFC East outside of the Eagles and it's just the Cowboys and the Commanders that are being really weird right now. Cause it's so up and down of like, I can see the potential, but like, y'all just can't put it together week to week. And it does it go back to what we talked about preseason with it being Mike McCarthy's show? I don't know.
Yeah. So I think the Rams, like you said, I think they match up really well against pretty much everybody because the way that they play, right? Like they can kind of get things going against a lot of teams, and I just don't trust the Cowboys that much. Like it's just what it is. Like I'm gonna kind of not trust them as long as McCarthy's the coach there. I really will. Like as much as like I've never been a huge Dak guy in terms of like consistently putting him like at the very top of quarterback rankings, but he's not really. I don't think he's been a problem this year for the most part. Like I think he's done well with what he's been given. I think the pieces are there for them to be a really good team, but I think McCarthy's going to find a way to muck it up, especially even if they get to they should make the playoffs. Obviously, that's not really a concern for me. But once they get there, what are they going to do? Like if they match up against some of these other teams, like they're just not. They don't have the coaching or the consistency, I think, to kind of beat a lot of the other good teams in the NFC consistently. So I'm going to say 24-20 Rams. I think that they're going to come out with this one. I think that they're just honestly not even so much a better team. I think they're a better equipped team right now to kind of go in and win a game like this. So
look, up until last week and all of the Cowboys wins, they had held the opposing offense to 13 points in their 3 wins. I don't see that.
It doesn't happen.
You can't do that. That's just not reasonable. And we've watched what happens when a somewhat decent offense comes to town and they get land blasted for 42 and 28 by the Cardinals. I think is more damning than 42. But
that was the one that really
just embarrassing.
So I don't know what's wrong there. I do have to hop off soon, so if I can give my Pittsburgh preview real quick.
Go ahead. You go ahead first.
I gotta go down. Yeah, I gotta go down to Richmond for a Lego convention with my sister. So
nice.
Yeah,
Whoa.
bought these tickets back in March.
Sounds so sick. Damn.
They had one in my hometown back in March. I went with my girlfriend. We bought tickets, and she's currently in South Dakota, so I'm going with my sister.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah. If you next game.
Yeah, Steelers. Welcome the Jaguars into Acrisure Stadium. I will be at that game, so this will be very fun for me to watch. Hopefully, maybe we'll see. Zach, I'll let you go first if you got to get out of here.
Look, so the whole Steelers offense thing, I don't necessarily think y'all need it because it's becoming clear throughout every week that the defense is just going to step up and do what it needs to do to let the offense in the end win the game. Because I could have sworn last week that Nakua and Kupp were going to just go right up and down the field, rip y'all a new one. And half right, yeah, but I needed both to win money.
Sorry about that.
But I mean, again, if you're telling me that the number 2 option is the one's going off, but you silence the number 1 option, okay, that's fair. And you're giving the offense enough chances at the end of the day to win the game. So it's going up against Jacksonville, who is having an up and down season of their own. I think the last couple of weeks has been very good for them with some of these wins that they've gotten. So it's going to be another question of can Pittsburgh's defense stifle Jacksonville's offense enough that the issues on offense don't matter. So now whether down the road that's going to mean that, I mean, I still think it's going to be tough for Pittsburgh to hit the 500 mark with how they're playing. Like, look, it's my bread and butter on the show. Your defense and offense can only be so good. Like they can be like amazing, but if they don't have the support of the other unit, it's not going to be able to last 17 games for the season. The other unit's going to get tired. They're going to get hurt because they're on the field more, and it's just not going to end well. You have to have a balanced team. So unless they have pieces is the thing. I understand Tomlin's respect and whatever, but if there's ever been a moment to be like, hey, maybe I need to fire an assistant mid-season and do something different, I don't know what the better example is.
Yeah, you're not gonna hear any arguments from me, Zach. You want to give a score prediction real quick?
I want to.
It's hard with this team, but
I want to hope for the best for Pittsburgh, but Jacksonville's on a roll right now, and it's not even the way the passing offense is playing; it's the way that Travis Etienne is playing right now. That is just like, oh my Lord. So I'm going to say Jacksonville wins this one, 28-20. And it's just going to be the fact that I can't see Pittsburgh getting over that 20-point hump, and there's just too many teams that you have to be able to do that too if you want to win the NFL. It's just not possible.
Yeah, fair enough. You need to run then.
Yeah, but I gotta head out. I will see y'all soon. Best of luck to everybody's bets. As I said, it sounds like we're teasing Miami and what was the other one? Bengals. We're teasing Bengals 6 points because that would just be +10 and -3. You'll get that. Trust me. All right, I'll see y'all soon.
All right, Tony. I'm gonna go ahead and bring you over here. I'm gonna let you go next here because I have a lot to say before we get out of here.
I'd imagine you do, yeah. So I'll lay out my thoughts here. Something I am very fond of is betting Tomlin as a home dog. I think that the Steelers and the Jags are very similar in weird ways in that they're talented teams that probably they're not going to be contenders at the very top, but they're going to they're going to be winning a lot of games. They're playing weird games. There's always some funky shit going on. Where they differ, though, is that the Jags seem to continuously shoot themselves in the foot. They have this untapped potential that it feels like every single game they're just banging their head against a wall, not doing their potential, and they open the door for bad teams, for any team, to make a play. And if you open the door for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Tomlin's going to kick that shit in your face. He is going to win the game to spite you. He's going to say, you have disrespected the game of football by opening the door for us. We are going to win to punish you. So that's, I think at the end of the day, I just see Jacksonville as the better team that won't be able to get out of their own way for the coming force that is TJ Watt, the Steelers defense. And then truthfully, I understand. If they fired Canada tomorrow, I'd celebrate it. But the past couple weeks, he's been doing some stuff that I almost think is quality, and that's scary to me. Because if you pair the Steelers defense with an offense that is at the very least complementary, then they could win a whole hell of a lot of games. So give me the Steelers in a very tight one, just because I think that they can punish a team who leaves the door open. So I'll say 23-22, something weird like that. But I think the Steelers win this one.
So, all right. So as you know, Tony, I posted it earlier in our group chat.
Haven't had a chance to read that one, but I will.
Definitely worth the read. It was I put out a 3,500 word kind of overall thoughts on this era of the Steelers since they kind of obviously brought Canada in and kind of moved away from the high flying offenses of the 2010s that they had. So this team is an enigma in a lot of ways. And the thing that really cracks me up, and you kind of said it best, when you leave the door open for this team, if you give Tomlin the opportunity to convince his team, hey guys, the game is on the line and we can go win it here, someone on the defense will start it and the offense will finish it. It'll be TJ Watt with his interception last week, which was a freakish play for an edge rusher to make.
He does that a lot.
It's
always
just
freakish
stuff, right? It's something insane. You're going to put 3 guys on my way to the quarterback. Screw it. I'll just intercept you then. This is what he does. He finds ways to do crazy shit, right? That happens. Then they still almost barely scored. They barely scored a touchdown on it from the 7-yard line, which is, it's the Steelers, whatever. Gets them back into the game. They give up a touchdown then in the next drive. But then the offense just they get it going, right? The Pickens connection, Pickett to Pickens starts happening. Deontay Johnson was a huge impact in his week back. They figure stuff out. And in the fourth quarter, Kenny Pickett's one of the best quarterbacks in the sport in the fourth quarter this year. And I can't explain to you why, other than the fact that they just let him throw, I guess, or that he just feels it in the fourth quarter. Just whatever. But if they could just start doing some of the stuff on offense that is so successful late in the game before the freaking fourth quarter, they would be in a much easier position to win. But they're not going to, because I know they won't, because Canada refuses to do that. He has his script. He needs to get his negative 2-yard run on second down. He has to, it's part of the game.
Special.
Right. It's part of the game plan. Whatever. But if the Jaguars, if this game is not a double-digit game going into halftime, the Steelers will probably win the game. That's just what they do. So I think it's really about how much can they hold serve in the first half. Can they force some mistakes by the Jaguars? Can they have a 10-6 deficit or whatever it is? Because they're probably going to come back and win the game then. And they do it consistently. And the scary part is I'd have to pull it up specifically, but in the 2.5-ish years that Canada's been the offensive coordinator, This team has scored about 19 points a game. They have 0 400-yard games. They are on currently a 54-game streak of not having 400 yards on offense, which feels impossible in the modern NFL. It doesn't
It does.
feel
It
like
feels
it
so
happens.
impossible.
Exactly. It hasn't happened, and I don't think it's going to happen this year. I really don't think we'll do it. But it doesn't matter. They're all the negative stats, and yet they are like 5 games above 500 with him as the offensive coordinator. And it beats conventional logic. It beats modern football. It basically spits in the face of it. And I think Tomlin, there's a part of him that loves that. There's a part of him that's like, you know what? I'm going to keep this guy on the staff because, yeah, does he suck? Absolutely. But we're still winning. And I can basically just say F you to every team I play against, basically. Say, yeah, if you want to win, you better score 30 real fast because if you don't, we will come back and beat you. And there's a beauty to that, but it also makes my blood pressure higher than it probably should be at the age of 26. So I'm kind of mad at him, but I'm also like, I respect it a little bit too. Like, I get it. It's like, it feels like he's chasing like some sort of high of like, oh, how bad can my team be? And I still win anyway. Screw you guys. Like,
Upping the level of difficulty, playing on hard mode.
He's literally putting it to all Madden when he can't beat anybody on All Pro. That's basically what he's doing. And it's like, I'm just going to do it anyway. We're going to win. Figure it out.
Next year he'll add Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to the mix.
Somehow. Like, I don't even know what they'll do. They'll just be on the sideline, just standing there. I don't know. Point is, I'm gonna pick this team to win 24-20 because I think that's just what they do. They're at home. I'll be at the game, so if they lose, I will be sad. But because if you remember, Tony, I've told you this. The only other game I've been to in person for regular season is the Bills game in 2019.
Yes,
when they were starting Duck Hodges at quarterback, and Levi Wallace was on that team and not bad. So like that's
no, he was bad back then too. He has been the same exact guy his entire career.
Well, this level of bad this year is a whole like he can't even, I don't even know what he's doing half. I don't think he knows what he's doing half of that.
He definitely does.
That's beside the point. I'll pick them to win. They'll probably lose because every game I pick them to lose this year, they win because of course they do. That's just how it works. But that'll do it for us this week. Another huge show. That's what we do. At least this week we had the full slate, right? So we can.
Yeah, there's 16 games. We were allowed to do this.
Exactly. Yeah. But
complain
thanks
next
for
week when we take 2 hours for 10 games.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad Zach was able to come on. He had to leave early, but we still got everything in. But we'll see you guys next week. Enjoy football. You got a lot of it to watch. So have a good time.